In the 19th century, Japan's centuries-long samurai era was coming to an end. The Satsuma and Choshu domains formed an alliance, supported the emperor, built a new government army, and called themselves the Imperial Army, while labeling Tokugawa shogunate forces as rebels. To return political power to the imperial court, the Imperial Army marched north from Kyoto, capturing territory one after another. Now their forces were closing in on Niigata. The Tokugawa and the northeastern domains formed a coalition, determined to fight the Imperial Army to the end. Only Niigata kept wavering and tried to avoid war. In 1868, at the port of Niigata, Yamada received news and rushed into an inn in panic because his wife had been dragged there and assaulted by a samurai. He tried to comfort his terrified wife. Judging from a fan left on the ground, the culprit was a samurai from nearby Niigata. That night, he found the samurai out drinking and took revenge. Yamada drew a dagger and stabbed him repeatedly, then pushed him into the river, venting his rage until the man bled to death. The consequence of killing someone in public was obvious. The next day, he was locked in a bamboo cage and sent to the execution ground in Niigata. He was tied to an execution frame awaiting death. During this time, he watched a woman being killed with a spear. He knew the same fate awaited him. While he was hanging there for display, a fool mistook him for his dead older brother, slipped into the execution ground, and freed him. Yamada was completely confused, but since things had gone this far, he chose to escape. However, his legs were numb like lead, and he was soon recaptured. The fool was caught as well, and a petty thief nearby also wasn't spared. He was buried in a pit, about to be executed by sawing. Just as the three were about to die, a samurai rode in with an order from the chief retainer. "Stop the execution." Yamada and the fool survived. But all the death row prisoners were drafted into the coalition's suicide squad to defend the fort against the Imperial Army, with a promise of pardon afterward. The crafty chief retainer believed the Imperial Army would definitely win, so to avoid provoking the coalition, he used death row prisoners as soldiers and even equipped them with the insignia of a neighboring domain. This showed how cunning he was. When the 10 death row inmates arrived at the fortress, they were untied and immediately given weapons. Gaining freedom again made them slightly excited. The fortress stood on one side of a gorge with a lookout platform in front and a storage building behind, hardly impenetrable, but still a strong position. At dawn the next day, they began reinforcing the defenses. Each worked according to their strengths. The sturdy carried logs, the strong drove stakes, the meticulous repaired paths, the sharp-eyed practiced shooting. The female prisoner and the fool went into the woods to gather firewood. In a dry stream bed, the fool found pits where spring water seeped out. The woman tasted the water and found it strangely foul. This would become important later. After a day of work, she finally prepared hot food. Everyone enjoyed the meal, except Yamada, who threw down his bowl and used the chance to escape. Because Niigata men had assaulted his wife, he refused to fight for Niigata. The others immediately chased him. Across the bridge, they ran into the Imperial Army's vanguard. There was no time to run back, so they hid in the grass. They planned to wait for the soldiers to pass, but the fool suddenly let out a thunderous fart. The noise alerted the troops. Just as they were about to be discovered, Samurai Washio jumped out, accusing them of trespassing. His words convinced no one. A fat man rushed out from the side and chopped off a soldier's arm. This enraged the Imperial troops. Their officer ordered an attack. The fat man was surrounded. Washio drew his blade and fought, and 2 other Niigata samurai joined in. Unexpectedly, they ended up winning the skirmish. Only Yamada and the fool ran back to the fortress, but the Imperial officer chased after them. Hearing the commotion, 3 death row inmates brought guns to the bridge. Before they could properly prepare, one fired early and hit a pursuing soldier. A second man fired but was knocked back by recoil. While they were reloading, the Imperial officer charged forward. Luckily, Washio reacted swiftly, cut off 3 of his fingers. The officer lost balance and hung off the bridge. The fool, kind-hearted and clueless, tried to pull him up by the hat, and the man fell to his death. Having lost their commander, the two samurai decided to withdraw first and come back for revenge after regrouping. When the government army general learned the news, he was furious and immediately ordered that troops be sent out early. The next morning, they set out to attack the Niigata fortress. This was the largest civil war in Japan's modern history. The imperial forces bombarded the coalition fort, but inside were only 3 samurai and 10 death row inmates, plus 1 helpless prostitute. This unlucky guy had just turned his head and looked. Yamada screamed in fear. 2 samurai checked the situation but ignored him and hid inside a building. Luckily, the woman didn't abandon him. Yamada quickly told her to get the key from the guard. She had barely gotten the key when artillery fire struck another blast. The guard was obliterated. A head-on fight was impossible, so they chose to lure the enemy in and split them up. Seeing the suicide squad hiding, the samurai led a squad of soldiers in an attack. But as they crossed the drawbridge, smoke rose, but they didn't notice. Gate slammed shut, splitting the soldiers. A veteran samurai attacked from the mist. He wounded a soldier and quickly slipped back into the dense fog. The imperial troops were on guard but couldn't stop the ghost-like ambushes. Niigata samurai showed exceptional skill and, fighting with their backs to the wall, outperformed themselves, cutting down many soldiers. Meanwhile, a second imperial commander found the source of the smoke. The prostitute and the fool were assigned to set it up. He ordered artillery to kill them, but they survived the blast. Imperial soldiers charged across the bridge but were shot down. 2 suicide squad members were guarding the tower. Their defense delayed the assault. Both sides exchanged fire. As the cannon was aimed at the watchtower, a shell hit it precisely. And without the firepower of the watchtower, the Imperial army broke in. As more soldiers flooded in, the defenders grew exhausted. The fat man even used a thin companion as a shield. After taking several heavy blows, he managed to kill 2 enemies. A strong Imperial warrior named Isa targeted Samurai Iri. Both were top fighters, but Iri, exhausted, was eventually run through. Just as the others were about to be overwhelmed, the fool threw a lit grenade-like earth bomb into the crowd. Yamada, stunned, asked for one too. Seeing the fat man cornered, he tossed another bomb, and the fat man knowingly sacrificed himself, killing his attackers. They captured Isa and tied him to the tower as a hostage to stop further bombardment. Twice already, they had turned certain defeat into victory. The next day, reinforced Imperial troops returned. This time, they offered favorable treatment. If the defenders surrendered and joined them, all past crimes would be pardoned. Longing for freedom, the death row inmates lost morale and prepared to surrender. But Washio refused such dishonor and shot Isa dead, cutting off their path to surrender. Enraged, the Imperial commander ordered a massacre. At that moment, a sudden storm hit the valley, soaking the Imperial firearms and forcing them to halt. But the Suicide Squad stayed alert and planned their next move. That night, they launched a raid. They broke a hole in the black water oil well on the mountainside, letting crude flow down to the camp, then threw burning bombs. Get out! The Imperial camp exploded into flames. Most soldiers died, with only a few escaping. Just as they celebrated, the fire rushed back uphill along the oil and blew them off their feet. Yamada fell down the slope and was confronted by the Imperial leader, but the old samurai rescued him. A fierce duel began. The old man struck first. A flurry of slashes and thrusts left the leader unable to cope. If another samurai hadn't shown up just in time, the old man might have already slain the leader, confronting 2 elite samurai. The old man was forced into a desperate fight. He replaced his sword with a spear. Both knew that a long spear could cut down everyone in its path, so attacking from both sides is the best way, facing 2 elite enemies. The old samurai ended up at the cliff's edge. In the end, the leader chopped off his right arm, though Hisenab one in the chest before dying. Then another one came up and killed the old samurai. Seeing this, Washio charged in, but instead of gaining any advantage, he ended up at a disadvantage and lost 2 fingers in the intense fight. His katana slipped out of his hand as he was about to die. Yamada returned with a gun and shot the leader in the head. The two fled across a precarious bridge back to the fortress. News reached the Imperial headquarters, and the commander was confused about who was holding the fort. He didn't know they were Nagata's own death row squad, disguised with another domain's flag. Wanting to show loyalty to the Imperial army, the chief retainer promised to send troops to wipe out the rebels. But the Suicide Squad didn't know this. They thought the chief retainer was coming to pardon them. Instead, they were met with bullets. This time, luck was not on the Suicide Squad's side. The monk was killed instantly. Everyone else hid in a hut. Washio couldn't understand why they were being attacked. One member even rolled dice to decide whether to run out. He crawled out bravely but was shot in the leg and then killed. Furious, Washio walked out but wasn't shot. He, as a top Niigata samurai, was given special treatment. The chief retainer promised safety for him if he revealed the other's whereabouts. "I won't forgive you, vile cowards," Washio said. He tied his sword to his hand, ready to fight 30 men alone. The chief retainer gave the order, and the samurai attacked. Washio's skill was unmatched. He killed 3 quickly. The chief retainer then ordered gunfire. Washio used a corpse as a shield and retreated into the hut, wounded in the stomach. When soldiers entered, he killed 2 more. He chased down another and killed him too. Seeing the situation, the soldiers charged forward in a swarm. Washio, one person with a stab, then seized a spear and attacked another, but he was already surrounded, and even with great martial skills, he was afraid of being attacked by a group at once. He slowly began to lose the upper hand as he was attacked by several people. Yamada and the fool searched the warehouse for bombs, but were shot at. Yamada made the fool flee, staying behind to sacrifice himself. Washio kept fighting, killing more even as his strength failed. He challenged the chief retainer to a proper duel. The retainer posed as if agreeing, but when Washio charged, he shot him instead. Washio, gravely wounded, still pushed forward but was stabbed in the chest. Even then, he tried to strike back, but a second shot hit his neck. With his final strength, he swung his blade, only cutting the retainer's clothes. Washio died a heroic death. Seeing this, Yamada resolved to fight to the end. He carried a crate of bombs up the tower and chose to die together with the enemy. When the smoke cleared, only the chief retainer remained alive. In the end, the war did not reach Niigata. The Niigata lord swore allegiance to the emperor and supported the Meiji Restoration.